Hi again. Now I've seen a bunch of videos like what if Mace Windu discovered Skywalker, or what if I think I think one of them was what if Mace Windu discovered Skywalker. Another one was what if Yoda discovered Skywalker. I think I'm not sure, but let's find out what happens if Dooku, or should I say, what if Master Dooku discovered Skywalker on Tatooine? Again, if you've seen like Tales of the Jedi, you know what I mean by Master Dooku instead of Count Dooku. But yeah, let's see what happens if. Let's see, what if Master, it just says Dooku, not Master Dooku. But yeah, let's see what happens if Master Dooku discovered Skywalker on Tatooine. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll have PPSW's channel in the description as always. And let's see what happens if Master Dooku discovers Skywalker on Tatooine.
Hello. Our story begins inside the Jedi Temple. Master Qui-Gon Jinn was stopping by his master's room to check in on him. Dooku had been a bit quieter as of late, and so Qui-Gon wanted to ask his former instructor if he'd be alright with him going off of world. This was not a permission thing, but a mental wellness thing. Dooku was in need of support, however, the Chancellor was assigning Master Qui-Gon and his Padawan Obi-Wan to go and negotiate with the Trade Federation about their blockade over the peaceful world of Naboo. Dooku was crouched over his bed. His hands were pressed against the temples of his head, and his elbows were digging into his knees. He looked over and asked his former student for the time, and it was late. Dooku wasn't sleeping normally, and he was...
Wait, hold on, I'll be back. Gotta clean my glasses. I'm back. Hopefully. Yeah. Just gotta clean my glasses. Wipe them down. Let's continue.
wasn't up early like he used to do, and quiet. He looked over and asked his former student for the time, and it was late. Dooku wasn't sleeping normally, and he wasn't up early like he used to do, and Qui-Gon expressed that he wouldn't leave his master here. Dooku nodded his head. He wouldn't. Instead, Dooku got up shakily. He told his apprentice that he would like to go to Naboo instead of him. Qui-Gon had no issue with this, but the Chancellor did assign him to go, and he wouldn't leave Kenobi behind at such an age. Despite Dooku not having met young Kenobi, he had heard good things about this student, but Dooku believed that his new master was behind this blockade.
Kenobi.
Not everything had been told to him about Sidious's plans, so he was going off of his gut with this, but he feared that his new friend Sidious wasn't as good as he claimed to be. Dooku appreciated how kind his student was, who told his master that he learned it from him. What a dagger in the chest. He considered leaving the Jedi Order and becoming a Sith, and yet here his student was, telling him that all of his kindness was learned from him. Master and apprentice parted the room as Dooku found another Jedi Master on the walk to the hangar bay, asking him if he would accompany him, to which he nodded. Dooku had explained before they got to the hangar bay that he didn't want Qui-Gon coming on this mission. This wasn't a protection thing, as he claimed, but more of a personal mission. One to freshen his mind, one to get into a new environment and clear his thoughts. Qui-Gon thought it was an odd place to do it, but maybe it'd be good for his former teacher. Chances are this would be a long, drawn-out political conversation with the Trade Federation, something that Dooku, in his tired state of mind, wouldn't likely fare well in. But who was Qui-Gon the judge? Upon their arrival in the hangar bay, Qui-Gon explained that they were switching things up. Obi-Wan was a little disheartened by this, but his instructor would make it better, using the spare time to get Obi-Wan promoted to the rank of Knight. Dooku and Master Imogen D, on the other hand, went to the Chancellor's escort and informed them of the switch. This wasn't a problem because Dooku and Imogen D were both well-known Jedi Masters within the Chancellor's office. This should be a fine trip. Instead of speaking to each other, the two Jedi Masters sat in silence. Dooku's eyes were pressed shut, and Master Gundy was watching the rings of hyperspace approach the cockpit as they got closer to the destination. Dooku's meditation was uncomfortable. He wasn't in alignment with himself, let alone the Force. He was struggling, truth be told, and that was because he didn't know where he wanted to go. The Sith path was right there. Sifo-Dyas was killed, the clone army not more than a month away from being created, and Jango Fett was hired to be the genome donor. Everything was in place, but inside of his heart, he didn't feel the same way, because how could he? Abandoning his student to trust a Sith? Sure, the plan sounded like it was filled with opportunity.
Conflict.
He was days away from removing Kamino from the archives, per his master's request, but now he was going against orders and doing something that surely Palpatine would find out about. He envisioned the conversation, Valorum being asked about the Jedi mission, and he turning back to Palpatine with a subtle grin, telling him that Dooku assigned himself to the assignment, hiding a slight chuckle. This was all a mistake. Palpatine would surely have him killed. Despite 2 Jedi Masters being assigned to the mission, it would go relatively similarly. The Jedi Knights boarding one of the transports to the surface after their Corvette was destroyed, and the negotiations were put on hold. They'd run into Jar Jar, which would be Dooku's greatest delight, and they would save the Queen, taking her inside of her...
Oh god. Now we've seen how Obi-Wan and, well, how Qui-Gon reacted to kind of push, like, Jar Jar to the ground to save him. And, of course, Kenobi's reaction. But Count Dooku, I can't imagine how not Count Dooku. I can't imagine what Master Dooku's reaction would be if he had to do what Qui-Gon did in the movie. But instead of Qui-Gon doing it, it was Master Dooku who did it. Who did it instead.
Naboo starship to Tatooine. When they arrived, Dooku was even more infuriated with the Sith. However, there was a sliver of change within the Jedi Master's heart. He had spoken to the Queen about the invasion, and picked her brain about what she knew. While Dooku was a part of the Sith plan, there were things that he was familiar with, and things that he was not. He knew that Palpatine was involved with the Trade Federation, but to what extent he wasn't sure. His mind was semi-lost on this matter. Instead of being fully drawn to his new master's plan, he was questioning himself. He left Coruscant because it was stuffy. The city life wasn't exactly his favorite thing in the galaxy, and he never could find his peace, especially after daunting missions. He always preferred the tranquility of places like Ossus, Deveron, Quen, or Tython, so being off-world was a relaxation to him. The biggest burden was the secrets he held. Master Imogen D was very insightful, and he had questioned Dooku about his mindset, and if he'd be able to finish this mission. But the two agreed that Dooku would venture into the city of Mos Espa alone. Master Gundy stayed with the fake queen to protect her. Obviously he didn't know she wasn't the real one.
Again, water on these hot days. Especially, I think it's, soccer season starting, or in some places you may call it football. Football. But yeah, it's starting. Let's continue.
At Mos Espa, Dooku found himself a slave boy, and he could tell there was something unique about him. But instead of concerning himself with that, he demanded to know why Watto was housing a 9-year-old slave child. The response made his blood boil, but that didn't change anything. Instead, Dooku continued along, and worked on making sure everything was properly handled. It wasn't. They needed to find another shop or something, leading the boy to bring them into his home after a sandstorm. This actually was the best thing for the 70-year-old Jedi Master. Shmi was welcoming, and despite her sad and maybe disheartening work, there was a semblance of joy for her, because she had her son, and she always thought and dreamed about the life he could have beyond this. Dooku was left with a thought then, because what Shmi said stuck with him. The problem with this universe was that no one helped each other. To Dooku that was an issue, and maybe it in fact had little to do with the Jedi and more to do with the Sith. To help people was to not kill one's friend, to not lie to one's master, to not perpetrate a galactic-scale civil war, one not seen since the infant days of the Republic. If he wanted to sow true change in the galaxy, it had to come from within, not external, and Dooku would not see such change with the Sith, because in their nature they forbade positive change. They only encouraged the destruction of everything around them, to lie, to fuel deceit. Dooku wouldn't sleep. much for the rest of their trip to Tatooine, and he would learn from Master Gundi that the Trade Federation was trying to find the Queen. One of her cabinet members cried for help, telling her that the death toll was rising exponentially and she needed to contact him. Ima told her that it was a trap and to not send a response. They needed to continue forward. Similar to how a student would have, Dooku entrusted a 9-year-old boy to compete in one of the most challenging sports in the galaxy. But young Skywalker persevered, and Dooku understood what Ima...
Like the Jedi way. You got 9-year-old and like the in a scroll like the Jedi way. If you have a 9-year-old child, just put him in like the world's most definitely game, or in this case, the most deadliest race on Tatooine you can think of. And they say, the kid's like 9 years old. Go for it, kid. It's only like the world's most deadliest game on Tatooine. Alright. In this case, the most dangerous race on Tatooine. Cause there's no backseats. Once you crash, you die. So, it's fine. It's extremely dangerous, but you can go for it. It's fine.
Saw on the M count check and how it was true. Anakin may have been one of the most special individuals to be brought into the Order. Dooku never went the distance to call Anakin a chosen one, just simply referring to his life as great potential. But there was a trick. After obtaining the parts needed for the Naboo transport, Master Dooku told Shmi to bring her son to the ship, of course under the escort of Jedi Master Ima Gundi. They were both confused, but Dooku had unfinished business. He, in his right mind, could not separate the boy from his mother, nor the mother from his boy. Dooku's work was unfinished. But the words Shmi said remained true. The biggest issue with the universe was the fact that people didn't look out for each other. So he went to Watto's shop and confronted the Toydarian slave owner. He had nothing but Shmi left to his name and of course his shop. Dooku walked in and found the disgruntled shop owner and demanded that Shmi be freed. He denied this, and so Dooku threw a bundle of parts onto the ground, telling Watto that if he didn't free the mother, he would face consequences. Watto got flabbergasted, yelling at the top of his lungs, telling Dooku to stop what he was doing, and as he got closer, someone walked in from the street. It was Bib Fortuna, Jabba the Hutt's major domo, flanked by 2 Gamorrean guards. Bib asked what was the matter, and Dooku turned back, asking who he was, as if he had any purpose to be here. He introduced himself as what he was before Dooku told Bib that he was going to tell the Toydarian to release the slave or there would be hell to pay for all of them. All the rage that Dooku held for the Jedi was being redirected. If the Jedi weren't the problem, then who was it? It was Watto. He was an individual cog in the system, but he contributed, and that was more than what the Jedi did. The Sith contributed because they had money. Dooku knew they did. He'd seen Plagueis' bank account over Palpatine's shoulder one time. He was furious. All that Jedi training did him nothing when trying to stop his human emotions from exploding. Bib looked at his tablet and then back to Dooku, telling them that he had already won his prize, suggesting he leave in peace or the daimyo would be seeing him inside of His Excellency's palace. Dooku gritted his teeth and his hand stretched out. Bib and the 2 guards beside him lifted their hands to their necks, and Dooku clenched his hand, squeezing out words with nothing but bass in his voice, telling the slaver scum that there was no place in the galaxy for their behavior. The guards fell to their knees first, as Bib tried to contact his master for help, but that was cut short when Dooku, frustrated by Watto's attempt to escape, clenched his hand, snapping all their necks before turning to the Toydarian and igniting his lightsaber and spearing him in the back of the torso with it. Dooku fell to the ground, looking over at all the dead bodies. He grabbed his skull, pulling at the old hair that hadn't even shown a sliver of gray yet. What had he done? Who was he becoming? This was not him. There were better ways to deal with slavers. They needed to pay, but not get the easy way out. He pulled his lightsaber and scurried out of the shop, hoping that this did not impact Quinlan Voss's mission. As Dooku walked back to the ship, he saw Anakin and Shmi hugging, and he thought that was sweet. Before he got to the ship fully, he heard a speeder run up beside him. As a lightsaber ignited and flipped over him, Dooku yelled out, telling Shmi and Anakin to get inside the ship, and they did. The Master Jedi placed himself between Maul and the ship, as he called out the Sith assassin's name, telling him to stand down. Maul ignited the second side of his lightsaber and told the Jedi Master to get out of the way or he would be killed. Dooku's blade ignited as he stepped forward. Young Anakin watched from the ramp as Shmi pulled him inside. He told Maul that this was his final chance. They did not have to engage like this. There was another Jedi on board and Maul would not survive this encounter if he continued forward. Maul saw this as a challenge of his skill and told the Jedi Master that Sidious would never need him. He lunged forward, engaging Dooku, who defended himself. Maul's blade was fierce, and Dooku was taking it easy, trying to dissuade the young Sith from ending his own life here. As their duel was transpiring,
let's see if Dooku would either come in half. Well, how would this happen? Because Kenobi come in half, and this man survived. So is Dooku going to stab him through the chest? Or kill him like that? Or... But yeah, how is Dooku going to kill Maul?
he got Anakin away from the ramp and told the other Jedi Master that there was a fight transpiring. Ima ran towards the door and slid down the ramp, watching the masterful Jedi Master beat back Maul's attacks with ease. But it was very clear that Dooku wasn't attempting to win this fight. He smacked the blade away and didn't strike what would have been an easy kill. But maybe Dooku was trying to imprison this Sith. Ima ran forward, igniting his lightsaber and engaging. Maul flipped overhead, and Dooku threw a torrent of sand at the Sith assassin, who toppled over with dust covering his eyes. He wiped his face with the back of his steaming hot cloak. He looked forward and pointed his blade at the encircling Jedi. Ima looked to Dooku and told him to go. This was his lead. Dooku hesitated. He didn't want to do this, but everything he had done inside the city was because of this. The Sith could not be allowed to gain power, so he locked in. Dooku raised his lightsaber and swung at Maul, spinning his lightsaber around his back dedicatedly, holding one arm pinned to his robe, ensuring it didn't get caught in the wind. Maul stumbled as he blocked the strike before engaging with Ima, who bashed him off balance. The Sith assassin versed two Jedi Masters, one of which was one of the most accomplished duelists of the era. Maul defended and blocked. All of his aggression had done him badly, and he defended himself the best he could. But Dooku's strikes were too quick and precise. Ima stepped out of the way as he watched Dooku hard.
Yeah, blind raids will be your downfall. It's good to have balance, but yeah, just like blindly swinging your blade with blind raids ain't gonna do you any good at all.
All of his strength, as if he was guided by nothing but the Force and destiny. He jabbed forward, cutting the double-bladed weapon into two. Dooku spun around, ducking a strike made by Maul before throwing him backwards. Maul hesitated. In his eyes there was only fear, and Dooku capitalized. He kicked Maul off of his feet, but he grabbed his lightsaber and got up. Dooku turned around and looked at Ima, who struck at Maul. Their blades interlocked. Maul pulled the other blade out of his belt and swung for Ima, who didn't see it coming, and Dooku lifted his hand, holding Maul back, and the Jedi Master swung forward. Master Gundy stepped away as Maul's chest radiated with a blue haze. He looked down and fell to his knees, as if he was shocked and disappointed in himself all at the same time. Ima looked at Dooku, who frowned, before extinguishing his lightsaber and closing the assassin's eyes, the one he had just killed. Ima asked his fellow Jedi if he thought this was a Sith. Dooku looked down, and then his eyes drifted back up, telling him that he had no doubt that the Sith were behind this. And as if he was putting the pieces together on a four-dimensional puzzle board, Dooku suggested that the entire blockade over Naboo was a result of Sith interference. Ima got down to the ground and looked at the lightsaber, admitting that these were purely bred crystals. The assailant had killed a Jedi before bleeding them. Dooku nodded. This was a Bainite Sith. They got the body inside the ship and departed for Coruscant. With mother and son, reunited or never separated, Dooku promised that once they got to the capital, he would ensure Shmi was taken care of. As for Anakin, he would have a chance of becoming a Jedi. All of it would go as it was promised. However, Anakin went with Queen Amidala instead of the Jedi upon their arrival. The council would be informed and showed the body of Maul, as well as the lightsabers. This would be supported by highly trusted Jedi Master Ima Gundy, who would give the full report while Master Dooku stood silently in the background, watching the sun slip down the horizon. One of the three Sith were dead. His mind rattled with this information, replaying again and again. The session continued, with Dooku not adding a whole lot to it. Eventually, he moved on from leaving the chambers, with the council left in discussion and in thought. Master Yaddle left the session to join the two Jedi Masters as they escorted the body down to the medical wing, where they would purify his soul and his crystal, hoping that when he truly does become one with the Force, he finds his peace. Yaddle spoke to the two of them about their time on Tatooine, which forced Dooku to tell her about the boy he planned on bringing to the council later on tonight. She nodded her head, telling him that if he believed it was the right decision, then it should be. Master Gundy confirmed. He was the one who supported it the most. Anakin would make a fine Jedi, pending the council's acceptance of him. Yaddle let out a quiet and a nod before continuing on. In the coming hours, after Dooku and Qui-Gon spoke about the interaction on Tatooine, the Jedi Master would have made his decision. He'd bring Anakin to the council and suggest that he become a Jedi, offering himself to be his instructor. Dooku didn't really form a bond with young Skywalker. However, it was the inverse for Anakin. He saw Dooku like a father figure, and Dooku felt it would be morally wrong to ruin that. It was clear by this point that he had gone too far. There was no turning to the Sith way. Maybe the dark side, but not the Sith. He was too deeply entrenched with the Jedi, especially now with Anakin. The Council would test Anakin regardless of Dooku's propositions, and he would pass their test with flying colors. However, there would be something else. Anakin did not feel cold. He did not feel fear. There wasn't true darkness present around him. While yes, Anakin showed signs of anxiety in the new city planet, and a little bit of apprehension about the change, it wasn't like he was harboring attachments like he would have had his mother been left on Tatooine. Anakin was already made out to be a Jedi, and the Council saw this, because it's what the boy presented. He didn't show himself off as someone that could be easily pulled to darkness. Mace asked Anakin what his anxieties were, because everyone in the chamber could feel them. He expressed them openly. The boy told them what it was, and he was very transparent about everything. Mace understood this. For any child, it was daunting coming from their home planet to this large city and pristine palace of light and all the noise. It was an ecumenopolis unlike any other in the galaxy. There was no reason to punish the 9-year-old boy for feeling such negative emotions. They could and would be corrected with proper instruction, because all it was anxiety, and therefore Anakin was to begin his Jedi instruction immediately. Shmi would be set up in the Commerce District, which was a couple miles away from the temple, and the Jedi would prepare for the next leg of their mission. Inside of the works, Palpatine would address his master, informing him.
The other thing is, since Shmi is alive and with Skywalker, and then they go for Padme, is Palpatine gonna somehow make a plan to get both Padme and Shmi Skywalker killed? Or have one of them captured and then killed? How is this gonna play out?
Of his suspicions of Dooku. This would encourage Plagueis to have his new student brought to the lair so that he could be killed. Sifo Dyas and Kamino should be covered up by this point. Everything else was in place. They would move forward without Dooku and without Maul. Palpatine would be remiss to say that he wasn't upset about losing both of his students. Maul would have eclipsed his own power if he had reached his full potential, and now he was nothing but a burial landmark inside the Jedi Temple. While the Sith were preparing for the next motion, the young Queen of Naboo was preparing to voice her lack of faith in Chancellor Valorum. She was getting ready when a Jedi Master requested to see her. Padme saw Dooku immediately, and he asked her how things were going inside the Senate. She told him about the squabbling, the remarks from the Trade Federation which called her words outrageous, and Valorum's complacency. Dooku nodded. She expressed that Senator Palpatine wanted her to voice a vote of no confidence in Valorum's leadership. Dooku told her not to listen, and she asked why. He explained that while Valorum was bad, they, as in her, and he, could do something about it. Getting rid of Valorum would only prolong the issue. Padme was definitely shocked to hear this, because not more than 72 hours ago, he was praising the senator from Naboo in front of her. She asked what this switch-up was about, and he told her that he had reason to suspect that Palpatine was siding with the Trade Federation, but he wanted power before he could quote-unquote punish them. Padme didn't understand, and he said that she didn't need to. It was the truth he came to know, and he didn't want her or the Republic to pay for it. He told her that throughout his 70-year career as a Jedi, he had seen the same squabbling before. Palpatine was trying to gain himself power. Again, where was this coming from? Dooku sat down. It wasn't right to trauma dump onto a 14-year-old, but here it goes anyways. Dooku told her he had made mistakes during his career.
Yeah, okay, great. Great. This is definitely the Jedi way, right? Let a 9-year-old boy go on like the most deadliest race on Tatooine, and then let a 70-year-old Jedi dump a massive like mess on a 14-year-old senator. This is definitely the Jedi way, right?
Among them was trusting the Sith, killing his best friend and Kamino. He expressed that the Sith and the Jedi were ancient rivals, going back over a millennia. Maul, the individual killed on Tatooine, was Palpatine's apprentice, and Dooku had reason to believe that Palpatine and Maul had orchestrated the blockade over Naboo to get Valorum to look weak. While Dooku agreed that he was just another run-of-the-mill Chancellor, Valorum was better than the alternative, which was a Palpatine who would use pity points to get himself an office that he would never leave, an office that he would perfectly set up for himself in the greatest failure seen in Republic politics in the last century. She asked if Palpatine was a Sith, and the Jedi were supposed to chase them down and hunt them down, then why hadn't the Council been notified? Dooku sighed, telling her that he had simply made a mistake, one that had been burdening him for the past year. Also, the Sith were really good at hiding themselves. It finally came to a head here, and he wasn't going to let Padme or her people or the Republic suffer because he was afraid to speak up. She asked what would be the worst outcome if she didn't listen, and he responded to her, asking,
Simple, let's see. Clone Wars. Maybe go down for a couple of years. Then towards the end of the Clone Wars, I think something called Order 66. The execution of the Jedi and the Republic, and a birth of the Galactic Empire, I believe. So yeah, that would happen, and then Palpatine would be renamed as Emperor Palpatine. So yeah, all good stuff if you don't help.
what would be the worst outcome if she did listen? This left the two of them sitting silently. Dooku was kind of aware that she was considering the idea of returning to Naboo before he came here and finishing up things herself, and he was here to encourage that. Padme would take Dooku's advice, and the two Jedi Masters that came with her would join her as they returned to Naboo, not more than an hour after their initial conversation. Palpatine planned on killing Dooku with some nanobite explosives, but he got away before he could plant them. Now they were stuck in a predicament, one entirely started because Dooku was ahead of them. Plagueis told a student to remain on Coruscant. He would go to Naboo to clean up his mess, and when he returned, there would be hell to pay for his ineffectiveness as an apprentice. On Naboo, everything would go just the same. The Jedi and the Naboo guards would make a push while the Gungans prepared for battle in the fields. Inside the hangar bay, the Jedi would be approached by a Sith Lord, a true master of the dark arts, and the Naboo guards would be forced to run away. Thanks to destroyer droids, they'd be trapped, but a fighter pilot whose engines wouldn't be started was able to pulverize the droids before making his push in his N1 starfighter into space to take down the droid control ship. Plagueis walked out of the gates and told Master Dooku that he was a fool. Ima looked to his ally and wondered what this could mean. Dooku didn't look back, even though the temptation was so overbearing. Plagueis told the supposed-to-be future Sith to tell his Jedi friend how he killed Sifo Dyas or how he prepared a clone army for war. Plagueis could expose this information. These two Jedi wouldn't live. Ima asked what he meant, and Dooku looked over with shame in his eyes. He told Master Gundy that he was corrupted by a lie. He made a mistake. He came on this mission to escape that mistake, but it followed him here. His blue lightsaber ignited as he told Ima that his mistakes were tragic, but they would not be fatal. They could right these wrongs together as Jedi. Master Gundy understood. His eyes turned back to Plagueis and his blade ignited. The Sith Lord smiled. pulling a blade from his belt and stepping forward. The two Jedi moved in. Plagueis was massive by comparison. He blocked their attacks with sweeping range and cut down on their blades with massive power. As the Dark Lord, this would be easy for him, even against Dooku. The Jedi had removed their robes and capes, and after defeating one Sith, they would defeat another together. Plagueis didn't retreat. He had the Jedi right where he wanted them. His blade cracked down against Dooku, who held it above his head. The whistling of their blades was deafening as Plagueis outstretched his arm, sending Master Gundy tumbling into crates nearby. Plagueis shoved forward as Dooku spun back, shoving his blade around. The Dark Lord told Master Dooku that he could sense his fear. He should have chosen the dark side. It would only do him wrong here at the end. Dooku breathed out of his lips and paced himself before bursting forward. Plagueis stepped back, swinging into each parry and avoiding lethal jabs. Ima-Gundy came in. His blade howled across the air as it caught Plagueis off guard. He threw his wrist forward and watched the lightsaber shatter into extinguishment. Dooku yelled Cortosis before shoving Ima off his feet, saving him from a deadly strike. Plagueis was impressed, telling Dooku that he was right, before dragging his blade back with such momentum that the Jedi Master stumbled off balance. He turned back and ducked another strike, rolling across the ground before jumping onto his feet and swinging his blade up. Their blades caught in the middle, and it quickly turned into exchanging blows. Back and forth. Ima-Gundy's blade advantage again as he ran in. He engaged with Plagueis, giving Dooku a much-needed break. Their swings got faster, heated in the exchange as Ima pressed in a forward assault. Plagueis spun away from strikes and leapt over blows that could have been deadly. He pulled a crate across the floor and Dooku avoided it, cutting it into pieces as electricity filled his back. Plagueis turned to focus on Ima-Gundy. The Jedi Master pressed forward, thrusting his blade at Plagueis. Whoa, a little aggressive for a Jedi. Plagueis smiled, batting his opponent's blade to the side as he ducked under a swing from the Sith and got up close to his opponent. Plagueis pulled his blade around the other side of his opponent's blade and pulled back. As Plagueis spun away, he grabbed Ima's entire shoulder, picking him up and slamming him into the ground before electrocuting him. He cried out in pain as the Sith Lord stood over him gleefully. Dooku ran forward, charging the Sith. He grinned, pulling his blade out of the way and blocking Dooku and throwing him over his body and into a wall, using all of Dooku's momentum to do so. Ima tried to get up before losing his life to a simple jab. Plagueis turned around with a sinister grin. He told Dooku that it was over. There was no going back. Dooku pulled his friend's lightsaber and ignited it, swinging both lightsabers forward. Plagueis stepped back, dodging each strike and blocked him where he needed. His form was perfect, and Dooku was acting out of emotion. Plagueis stepped over Ima-Gundy's body as he blocked Dooku, who formed an X with his lightsabers trying to cut down Plagueis' blade. But he shoved forward, knocking both of Dooku's blades back with such momentum, and the Sith Lord pulled his blade around and drove it straight into Dooku's chest. He felt the life get pulled out of him, just as Plagueis did this. The Jedi Master fell to his knees and held himself up, coughing. All of his strength was gone, but he was trying to do anything, trying to save the people of Naboo. Plagueis stepped back, looking down and admitting that he would have made a fine Sith. Such a shame, such a waste. Out in the fields of Naboo, the Gungans were getting slaughtered. Inside the palace, Padme and her unit were captured. Outside the atmosphere, the N-1s were getting dominated by the Lucrehulk. Plagueis prepared to go and capture the Queen himself. Foolish Palpatine, he mumbled under his breath. As the words left, he turned to his side when a blast from an AAT cannon sounded, and the whooshing of engines grabbed his attention. A Jedi starship. Plagueis smiled to himself. A real challenge.
Let's see if this is gonna be... Imagine if this was Mace Windu and Master Yoda. If these are the two Jedi who are in this ship right now...
No live streaming.
Let's continue again. But yeah, let's see who's in the ship. Master Yoda and Mace Windu. So yeah, I want to see how this plays out. Mace Windu and Master Yoda versus Darth Plagueis.
His tunic wavered around his legs as he watched the doors open and 4 Jedi Masters from the High Council emerged. Yoda, Plo Koon, Yariel Poof, and Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Oh, I was kind of right. I did say Master Yoda and Mace Windu, but no, it was actually 4 Jedi. And one of the Jedi I did say is there. I did say if Master Yoda was there, and I was correct. But I'm surprised that Mace Windu didn't want to join, and I'm surprised that Mace Windu didn't join the battle. His Rapad means like he used the dark side to, well, not use the dark side, but he has the power to use a dark side, use his dark side against them. Like you saw in the Revenge of the Sith with Palpatine versus Mace. But yeah, I'm surprised Mace Windu didn't come to this battle with Darth Plagueis. But again, I was correct about Master Yoda coming. But I'm just surprised that 4 Jedi came. And not Mace Windu. The one that can redirect the dark sides. Oh my god. Again, like in Revenge of the Sith, how Mace Windu was reflecting the dark side back at a Sith user. Yeah, this would be nice for Mace Windu to come. Because if Mace Windu was in the battle, he could redirect Darth Plagueis' dark side back at him. That would help a lot with this battle.
Their lightsabers all ignited immediately, as Master Yoda tried to reason with seeing his student dead on the ground next to Imogen D. What a tragedy. The 4 Jedi rushed in, not even giving it a second thought. Plagueis pulled his main lightsaber apart, igniting a second end and swinging forward aggressively. Plo Koon and Yariel were the first to engage, with the smaller Plo Koon being thrown backwards. Yariel held his blade forward as Plagueis dragged his other blade around and forced Mundi to step in between, blocking the hulking strike before Plagueis stepped back, defending from Master Yoda. The duel lit up the chambers as all 4 Jedi tried to take down the massive Sith Lord. He didn't buckle though. His blade smacked down, throwing respective Jedi from their balance. Plagueis was masterful in every way. He slipped between Jedi, using all of his mastery to his advantage. The Keldor Jedi Master engaged him, slashing his blade into the Sith, who used it as leverage, throwing Plo's weapon at Yariel, who had to sidestep the strike. Yoda tanked a massive amount of a strike made by Plagueis as Master Mundi joined his Grand Master. Plagueis slipped the other side of his weapon back into the main hilt, before using his lightsaber to throw the Jedi Master's blade to the side, and pummeling Mundi's face and throwing him. Plo and Yariel turned and got engaged with the Sith again, who defended himself from the Grand Master. Yoda couldn't quit, but this would make him. Plagueis
Again, why didn't Mace Windu join you guys? Mace Windu would have been a great help for this battle.
dragged Dooku's body across the floor and lobbed it at Yoda, who was thrown to the side. Plagueis avoided a strike from Yariel, ducking under it and swinging back to block Plo. He moved out of the way and slid his blade forward. Mundi got up and helped Master Yoda get up. Their eyes turned to their allies, who were aggressively pursuing Plagueis. The monstrous Sith Lord ducked a strike from Yariel before blocking Plo. Their blades connected again, as Plagueis dragged the Sith weapon down the hilt as quickly as he could, gutting the hilt and burning Plo's hand, before the Jedi Master was instantly greeted with a lightsaber into his chest. Plo fell lifelessly to the ground, as Yariel threw his blade forward, and before he could even register it, the second blade of Plagueis' blade ignited into his stomach. Yariel fell to the ground, as a slash cut his head off. Mundi and Yoda charged in. Plagueis was launched off his feet by Yoda's most aggressive strike. Mundi looked down. Yariel and Plo were gone. Plagueis dodged a strike from Yoda before being shoved into a wall by Mundi, who sidestepped back, receiving a blow to the cheek in the process. This greedy strike made by Plagueis would leave him with only one more weapon, as Yoda cut the striking lightsaber into pieces. Mundi didn't react to the cut on his face as he joined the Grand Master in re-engaging the Sith Lord. Plagueis shoved back, throwing himself under Yoda and meeting a jab in the back of his calf from Mundi. Plagueis swung at Kiadi, who ducked it just short of getting a haircut, as he threw his blade to defend himself, before being thrown off his footing. Yoda was there to defend him,
A haircut or again like a head cut?
thrusting his blade forward. The Sith Lord and Grand Master engaged. This was a fight to end it all, and Plagueis didn't even know it. Their weapons graze at each other as Ki-Adi-Mundi looked down, seeing his hair on the ground, before turning forward and watching the mastery of two avatars of light and dark. Yoda slipped between Plagueis' strikes and his hulking hand. Ki-Adi-Mundi drove forward, seizing the opportunity and slicing his blade straight through the Sith Lord's hand and wrist.
It's literally a haircut, okay. Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll have PPSW's channel in the description as always.
Cutting them down the middle but not cutting them off. Yoda would deal the final blow, dragging his weapon around and cutting Plagueis across the neck, forcing him to die through suffocation. A very painful death for him, one filled with panic, surprise, and lack of concentration. Palpatine, on the other side of the galaxy, was apprehended and brought into the Jedi Temple to never be seen from again. The reasoning? Padme. Despite Dooku telling her not to tell anyone, she was worried about her elder Jedi friend, and so she contacted the Council before departing. Masters Windu, Balaba, and Rancisis were the ones to capture Palpatine without any casualties. On Naboo, trouble continued though. While Padme was able to win...
Oh, that's right. Mace Windu wasn't joining the battle with Plagueis. He was getting Palpatine, okay.
Inside the throne room, the battle in space was going terribly. Of course, up until Padme forced Nute Gunray to surrender himself and his fleet. It would lead to an entire process that would be as boring as it sounded, one revolving around a bartering for the Gungans in exchange for Gunray. But the Gungans refused to be traded. It would force the Trade Federation to surrender Nute Gunray to the courts, and not even that would save them. Despite Valorum doing poorly before the invasion of Naboo, he had to react because he was informed there were whispers of a vote of no confidence in his leadership. This would force the Trade Federation to surrender a great number of his assets in order to remain a legal business in the Republic, not to mention all the restitution they would have to pay off to the people of Naboo and the Gungans of Naboo. The Jedi would be a part of said restitution, but the people of Naboo would be entirely grateful for the sacrifices of their 4 members. While Palpatine was a Sith, no one would really care. Some would, but instead of making sure they cared about the Sith aspect of it, and hoping he got a rallying from the Senate, Padme would enforce the notion that Palpatine was behind the attack of the Trade Federation, which would force more checks and balances on both senators and corporations that existed within the Republic. Anakin would be devastated about the loss of his father figure, and it would almost force him from the Jedi Order. But the grieving Qui-Gon Jinn would begin a bond with the boy. This relation brought Qui-Gon and Anakin together naturally, creating the scenario where they'd have a chance to train together, and make Anakin's experience as a Jedi to be fulfilling. Padme would inform the Council about some other things regarding Dooku, and what he said to her before they left for Naboo. It was about Kamino and his best friend. The Council knew this would be Sifo Dyas, and the case for the Jedi Master was opened back up again. The falling out had always been an oddity to the High Council, but they were willing to try and find the wreckage that may have killed their friend. Masters Windu and Coleman Trebor would be the ones to find the destroyed ship on Felucia's moon. It would lead them to Obadiah and of course to Silman, who'd been rotting away in prison for a year. On the other side of things, Masters Yaddle and Shakti would discover...
Yeah, that was Star Wars The Clone Wars, I think, Season 5 or Season 4. I think it was. No, it was Season 6. I think one of those seasons, I think, was 4, 5, or 6. When they found his lightsaber and the wreckage from, Sifo Dyas' lightsaber and the ship the remains of the ship that Sifo Dyas was in. So yeah, that was from like the Clone Wars.
Kamino and unveil everything else. The Order would be in shock, but they would be grateful forever for Dooku's change of heart. This did encourage conversations within the High Council chambers, leading to genuine change for their order. As for the Republic,
Oh wait, doesn't this mean that the clone army never happened? Like, it's been a while, so how many clones were even made or were ready for battle anyway? Or did the cloners never even got a chance to even get a single clone trooper out and ready? Welcome to the clones.
the Valorum era would come and go. Following it would be the Bail Antilles era, which would be more of the same bickering and core-related policy work. But encouraging and enticing and exciting young senators like Padme would enter the fray and offer a chance for legitimate change within the Republic. It would be that change that would redefine what the Republic was for the galaxy. Under Chancellor Antilles' terms, and eventually Amidala's terms, the Jedi would expand their outposts into the Outer Rim, backed of course by core businesses trying to capture cheap land to expand their conglomerates or empires. It would be through businesses that the Outer Rim and Mid-Rim found appreciation. It would lead to a rebuilding of the structure. But it would start a cold war between the Republic and crime syndicates, one that would never bubble over into any actual war, just the constant regression of criminal territory, until none remained. When that came, Dooku's vision of a galaxy full of people helping out other people would be semi-complete, and the time for real healing in the galaxy could begin. And that, my friends, is our story. Again, special thanks to all the patrons: Benjamin Wells, Ozpin, Angel Dust, Darth Vitiate, Seju Jagger, Groot36, Hunter Belden, Rosebird, Angel Dust, Alexandra Reese, The Beginning and End, Django Fat Clone, Nick5098, Ben Ingram, The Big Red Pure Mark, Diamond Constant, Darth Nemesis, Lord Tibbs, CC2024, Gallivant Gaming, Tristan, Mandalore, Sirwell1767, Darth Revan, Granity Bane, Laliant, Sky Guy, Penguin, Cullen Rooney, Shark Midori, RJ38, Nick, Michael Erlanger, The Last Jedi, Apollo, Weewoo670, Annika Stank Runner, CT7567, Toaster Oven, Oz of Oz, Darth Nox, The Eternal Padawan, Joshua Tem, Johnny Naguin, Save the Skeleton, Jedi Sloth, Mr. Yeet Gamer, Lord Callie, Young Lisa 66, Madman Studios, Anakin003, Lord Draken, 46 Star Wars, Airbus, Rex the Wolf, Many 3 First Names, Darksling46, Baron Joshua, and Lord Deadwing for supporting the channel.
Oh god. Imagine saying all of this in one breath. Oh god, no. Like, take a breath and then continue. Not say all in one breath. Oh god. That's a lot of members though.
Smash that like button. Check out the things. There's cool things like this and this, and yeah. Let's talk about the story. So I wanted this one to be a little bit more of a 46 Baron Joshua and Lord Deadwing for supporting the channel. Smash that like button. Check out the things. There's cool things like.
I guess this is his. I guess that's his new channel, I'm gonna guess. His second channel. Alright.
This and this, and yeah. Let's talk about the story. So I wanted this one to be a little bit more of a kind of like Tales of the Jedi, the Dooku episodes, where it's kind of like this mystery kind of thing. I'm not really sure if Dooku knew about the invasion of Naboo, so I kind of played it loosely. Like, he kind of knew, but he also kind of didn't know, which added to the whole allure of like the mystery in the story. I wanted Dooku's arc to really be him coming full circle, but not seeing the results of him coming full circle. And it's kind of tragic, and I thought that was kind of like the big surprise in this, is that he's going toe-to-toe with Plagueis, and then boom, he's dead. I really like the idea of Padme being the one that really instigated the Jedi to get involved. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. I love you all, spread the love, and always remember, my friends, may the Force be with you.
After that, then yeah, I'm going to react to one of these later tonight. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And don't forget to check out my reaction playlist to see more of my reactions. And I'll have PPSW's channel in the description as always. And yeah, I'm going to continue to be pumping out reaction videos for a while now. Again, maybe something different, like random. like yesterday, I was live streaming on Twitch and I uploaded the video from Twitch on my channel, so they're different. But yeah, I'm gonna be most likely been doing reactions for a while. And yeah, bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to check out my reaction playlist. And the channel will be in the description below as always. Bye.